Oh, yes. Here we go, guys. Just the tip with your host, me, of course, Uncle Weezy. We're ready to roll for UFC Vegas 50. And you know what? We got a lot of work to do tonight, you guys. We got 14 fights to break down from a statistical perspective. We're going to take you through the tail of the tape, the experience, the finish stats, the grappling offense and defense, the striking offense and defense, the strength of schedule, the last five. We're going to give you all the angles of every fight on this UFC Vegas 50 card so that you can stack cash tickets like flapjacks on this card. And that is always the goal of this show. And last week, we had a great betting week. I was up 5.8 units at the window. Cashed bets on Colby Covington, 4-5 decision at minus 160. Cashed a bet on Jalen Turner's money line, 2.7 units at minus 135 for a couple unit win there. Got a win on the Greg Hardy-Sergey Spivak fight. Doesn't start round 3, minus 130, 1.3 units on that. And then had a big parlay, a 3.2 unit parlay with Umar Nurmagomedov parlayed with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, who I kind of have to apologize for. Marina Rodriguez did not shave ass. She won the fight, and if you bet on her, you cash tickets. But if you bet on her inside the distance, she didn't even come close to a finish. That fight was way closer than I thought it would be. And, I was way off on that one. But every once in a while, even when you're off, you get a little help. It was a close fight. I thought Jan won the first, and I thought the second and the third were razor close. But hey, got the decision, got bailed out there, up 5.8 units. But this week, I got to do a lot better with the ass shaving of the week, you guys, and I got to get you somebody that's getting their opponent out of there and looking damn good doing it. I can't wait, though, to break down this card with you guys here. We got my guy Daz Files first in the room, and he says 2 hours early, and I am not first. That's how good this show is. Oh, there might have been a commenter before you, Daz Files, but it fell off. And as far as I'm concerned right now, you were first, and I thank you for that, man. Thanks for checking in, man. And by the way, if you guys aren't following Daz Files on Twitter, this dude put out a tweet last night, and holy shit. If you think your Uncle Weezy had a good week, man, you should check the week that my man Daz Files had at the window. He had some bookies crying on Saturday night, cashed a ton of tickets, and had something like a 70-unit win. Big up yourself, Daz Files, man. That is a way to stack cash tickets like flapjacks, man. There's not enough syrup in all of Australia to get on those flapjacks that you stacked, my man. So congratulations. We got my guy Grateful Dude in the room saying, oi, yes. And we got Sean V saying Weezy 2024. We got Daz File saying Donald Trump at 4.5020, 4.50 2024 Republican presidential nominee. Stake $6.37 is now at $2.10. But the 2-year waiting time is an exercise in itself. Yeah, 2 years of waiting time is a long time to let the bookies sit on that money that you bet. But if you want to beat a live movement, that's the way to go, I guess. But, you want a political bet that'll cash for sure? How about this one? No matter who gets elected, that politician's going to be blasting you in the ass and me in the ass and everybody else that's watching this show that's not a politician or doesn't get paid off by these pricks. Right in the ass. Because that's what politicians do. They blast us in the ass. And I wish I could bet on that every year at the window, because I would be on a beach somewhere earning 20% right now. I'm probably figuring out how to get a good yacht repairman. But, I don't have a yacht. And my car is kind of beaten down and my computer's getting slow. So it's time to start buying some things. But I don't have much money to do it with. We got Johnny Parsons in the room saying, I need to know whose ass will be shaved this weekend. Also, when am I fighting again? Well, Johnny, I will let you know, as I always do, at the end of Just the Tip this week, I will give you Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. That's the protocol on Tuesday nights, baby. But when are you fighting again? I don't know, man, because you must have been severely injured to pull out of a fight against Michael Gilmore, because there's no easier fight in the welterweight division right now in the UFC than Michael Gilmore. So I think that whatever Johnny Parsons pulled out with is probably something he's going to be out with for a minute, because I feel like if he would have taken that fight on one leg if he had the chance. So I don't know when you're fighting again, Johnny, but it will be interesting. We got my guy Papa Chuck in the room saying, "Unk, oi, what's up, Papa Chuck? Good to see you, man." We got Wheel Kick Ignacio saying, "Oi." We got Papa Chuck just saying, "Just listen to your recent story time. Congrats, and this is just the beginning." I really appreciate that, Chuck. And if you guys haven't listened to the very special story time with Uncle Weezy I did last week, please give it a shot at some point when you got a free half hour in your day. It's the story of how I got started as a YouTube content creator, and I hope that you guys that do listen to it would find it inspirational and get something out of that video that you wouldn't get just from listening to my mixed martial arts analysis. Kind of open up and tell you a little bit about myself in that video. And I appreciate you shouting out the video, Papa Chuck, and I hope you got something out of it, brother. Thanks for hanging out. PSSA 31 saying, "Let's go." We got Chad saying, "I have arrived." Good to see MMA Chad in the room. We got my guy DFS by the numbers saying, "Oi." Yes, we got Lou Betya saying, "What's up to Johnny Parsons?" and saying, "It would be awesome if we get Johnny by God Parsons on our channel one day. Weezy is lucky." That would be pretty cool. But if he ever found out some of the shit that I was talking about him, man, he might not agree to come on the channel. Pascal Roshan saying, "We're ready for just the tip. Let's go, baby." Good to see you, Pascal. Thanks for hanging out, man. MMA Asphalt saying, "Oblique kick that like button." You got it right, MMA Asphalt. Thanks for checking in, brother. My guy Tim Troiano, who basically doesn't do anything but stack cash tickets like flapjacks every damn week, in the room, hanging out with us. Tim, good to see you in here, brother. A fellow Chicagoan saying, "Oh." We got Lou saying, "What's up to Tim?" And DFS by the numbers saying, "Yes." My guy Jarno saying, "Best show of the week. Let's go." Thanks for hanging out, Jarno. Good to see you, brother. Paul Brassfield saying, "Oi, salute Uncle Weezy. Ready to get back on track after missing out on last week's action." Well, at UFC, that's the great thing about them, is they're here pretty much every damn week. So we got another chance to make some money this week, Paul. Thanks for hanging out. We got the Cuban Assassin saying, "Weezy." We got the Benson and Hedges, Keith Peterson exclusive long menthol 100s ready to roll. Let's get the cheddar. Let's do it, Cuban Assassin. Always with the best Keith Peterson comments in the chat, brother. Good to see you. Matthew Chalk saying, "Oi." We got my guy Strickland's Burner in the room saying, "The man, you are the man." We got Chad saying, "At Tim Troiano." Yes, Timmy. Lou Betcha saying she came close to a finish with that yam bag shot. Yeah, that was a nasty one. Yikes, that did not look good at all. Andy MG saying, "Oi, big ups, Weezy. This is a sleeper card. Looks a little greasy, but excited to dive in." There's some good fights on this card, man. Some bangers. Chris for the love saying, "Oi, much respect to MMA fam." Good to see you, Chris. You're always one of the best supporters of the channel, man. Much love, much appreciation. Addicted to Combat saying, "Oi, what up, Unk? Fun fights this week." Yes, you got that right. To be fair, you picked a hard-ass matchup. You could have picked Umar. Yeah, and that's the thing, man. I'm not going to pick Magomed Ankalaev this week. He's the one that's probably definitely going to shave ass. But I'm trying to give you something that, I've got a read on, where I kind of feel like, yeah, this has got a chance to finish inside the distance, and hopefully it's not like minus 300. And yeah, I could have picked Umar, and I was confident that he was going to shave ass. I parlayed him with Marina Rodriguez. But yeah, Marina looked really tentative in that first round, and that really surprised me. I think she knew she needed a finish in order to get, a title shot. And I just didn't see that Marina Rodriguez that I had seen in the past, the one that really let her hands go and was really nasty. But yeah, hopefully we get it right this week, man. And Chris for the love saying, "Good for you, Daz. You deserve it. Love seeing the good guys win." Yeah, man. It's always good to see the good guys win. And we got Weezy for UN ambassador. Man, they wouldn't let me in there ever, man. Andy MG saying, "Ain't that the truth? Ban politicians trading stocks." Yeah, they like to make a lot of money on insider trading, and they've even went so far as to say it's not illegal when they do it. That's what the Greeks call hypocrisy. This is called hypocrisy when this happens, when you do things that you expect other people not to do. This is what the Greeks call hypocrisy. Anyway, Chad saying frauds. Yeah, I'm with you, brother. Laughing my ass off. Politicians are prostitutes. I don't know what's dirtier. I do, man. I do. One of them works hard. The other one doesn't. Chad saying the slugger not. Yes. Matthew Chalk saying looking forward to hear your thoughts on McKinney versus Dober. Matthew, you can check out on the MMA Engine YouTube channel. I've already done a balls deep breakdown on the Terrence McKinney Drew Dober fight. We went almost an hour talking about it with the chat and going through all the numbers from nose to toes. That is a great fight. Can't wait to break it down again with you guys today. But you can check that out. And I believe the link to that balls deep breakdown is in the description of this video, as is the stats that we will be looking at today, as is the link to Stat Diggers, and as is the link to the main event breakdown that my man DFS by the numbers and I did on the MMA Engine YouTube channel, you guys. So we're definitely gonna hear some more of those thoughts. Jeremiah Nicola saying, only man I have notifications turned on for. That means a lot, Jeremiah. Much love to you, much appreciation for that. And smash the like button. And we got my guy Daz Files contributing to this show. Ring a ding, a ding. We got a donation, everybody. Much love to you, Daz Files saying, I made that Trump bet to remind myself there's no politics or religion in betting. And that is absolutely true, my man. You said it. And you always come in with those lucrative MMA quotes about, how to maintain the mindset, maintain that right mindset, be disciplined, look at all the angles, all very important things to do. We got Bailey Ripplinger saying, might miss this card because Bellator is in my hometown this weekend. Always good to go support live mixed martial arts shows when they do come to your hometown, man. So Bailey, I get it, dude. Thanks for joining us. Tim, the split decision Troiano. Troiano's not going to split decisions with the bookies. He's shaving the bookies' asses, my friend. We got Strickland's burner saying, Dad, they're going to cheat him. Save your money. They bash him on Twitter every day and brainwash the people into anything they post. Yeah, I mean, I don't ever talk about politics on my show. The most political that I ever get is I just say they all suck. And that's just how I know how to be truthful. Nicholas Lee saying, what's up, Uncle Weezy? Lost some cash on the last card. Need to kill this card and have Dana call me for a loan. There you go, man. If you kill this card and Dana's calling you for a loan, man, it means you had a hell of a performance. We got Chad saying, picking minus 1,000 favorites isn't big brain. Yeah, man, I try to always give you a little bit better odds than that, man. Victor De Jesus saying, oh, yes. Sorry I'm late, Unc. They make me work at work today. God damn it, I hate when they fucking do that, Victor. What the hell is that? You go to work, you want to relax, kick your feet up, and your boss is in your face breaking your balls, telling you about your TPS reports need a cover page on them. I've had enough of it, dude. That's why I do this. That's why I hang out with you guys. DFS Whisperers saying, oi. Lou Betcha saying, are we drinking a Paloma tonight or what? No, we're not, man. Dude, I've been grinding it all day, Lou, watching tape. And then I had to go and run about like 12 errands this afternoon. So it's coffee. It's coffee, you guys. Maybe a late night Paloma tonight after the work is done, but we got a lot of work to do. We got 14 fights to talk about. We got Chad saying, Sagapo, Uncle Weezy. I learned a little Greek from chicks in high school. There you go, Chad. There you go, man. The Greek girls are good ones, man. We got Metalinga saying, oi, let's start the breakdown. Let's do it. Chris Colanza saying, Uncle Hefner in the house. What's up, Chris? We got Chad saying, my religion is value. My politics is winning. I love it. King Bicky saying, yes, Bellator in my hometown too. Fantastic. Tatooine Dream saying, looking forward to the show, getting Ankalaev decision at plus 120 and thinking about taking it. Very interesting. And then my guy David Milk saying, oi, want to see Tom Aspinall next week in London, but this card has lost a lot of nice fights too. But this card has a lot of nice fights too, for sure. Absolutely. That England card is going to be damn good, man. And then we got another donation, ring a ding ding. My guy Nick Odd in the house saying, and oh my God, wow, you guys are unbelievable. You guys are unbelievably generous to me. I can't thank you enough. Nick Odd, $9.99. Ring a ding ding. Thank you for the donation, Nick. We got Alan C saying odds on main event going the distance. I have got the fight doesn't go to decision. Odds will be on the ticker, so you can figure out the odds from there. But we can bring that up as well, Alan. Good to see you in here, brother. We got Jay Rich saying, didn't know you were from the city too, Unc. Malort shots on me. I appreciate that, Jay. Let's do it sometime, man. I got to find some people to watch fights here within the city, man, because my girlfriend hates them. Nick saying thanks for everything. Dude, thank you for supporting the show. And we got my guy Pascal Roshan just supporting the show in a ridiculously generous way here, you guys. He retweeted my tweet saying that I was going to be doing just the tip tonight. Really gave some really nice, kind words on Twitter, and those kind words that he gave me are really free, and I totally appreciate them. But my God, a $50 donation saying I make money, my man gets a share. Thank you for all the work. We appreciate you, Uncle Weezy. Pascal, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for the generous donation, for the kind words on Twitter. They really do mean a lot. You guys are the best. I've got the best audience out there, man. Big checks only saying, oi, got to get to bed for work in the morning, but I got to watch on my way into work in the morning. That's a good way to do it. Good way to start it out. Malort, yes. And F. Carrillo saying, that's how it's supposed to be, Pascal and Nick. F. Carrillo, you are the man. Thank you for joining us. Only Bet Plus saying, is Colby and Usman all that stands in the way of a Russian takeover? I think so, dude. I think those two men right there could take on all the Russian 170ers and clean them all out, man. And Addicted to Combat, thanks for hanging out. Big Midwest Malort Trinker checking in right here. You guys, thank you all for hanging out tonight. We're already 17 minutes in. We got a shit ton of work to do. And my guy, F. Carrillo, bringing up the donation. Ring a ding ding. You guys are the best. Saying he hit 683.73 DraftKings points, and much love. God bless you, Unc. Oi! And a big oi goes out to all the donations, all you guys supporting the show. Big up in that thumbs up button. Big up in that subscribe button. Subscribing to the MMA Engine YouTube channel. And just joining me and watching the videos and talking about MMA. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. You guys, we've got to get to work here. Let's start with the first banner screaming across the bottom of the page. Let's share my screen with you so we could bring up these stats. See if my guy Smooth Jimmy Apollo is ready to break down some fights for you guys with me. And let's see. There it is. There he is, Mr. Smooth Jimmy Apollo, ladies and germs. And let's get to it. We've got Azamat Murzakanov sitting at minus 174 right now. All these lines are courtesy of betonline.ag. And we got Tafon Nchukwi on the comeback at plus 149. Fight doesn't go to decision, minus 180. We got Nchukwi is 5 years younger, you guys. He is 2 inches taller and has a 6-inch reach advantage. Murzakanov is a southpaw, so a big size advantage here for Tafon Nchukwi. Murzakanov's got a pro experience advantage here, having 3 more fights, but it's actually Nchukwi who spent more minutes in the cage, 21 more minutes in 3 less fights, and that's because Murzakanov fights like he's double parked, you guys. He's got only 4.3 minutes average fight time, and it says that Murzakanov has a 12-year career. That's correct. However, Tafon Nchukwi having a 122-year career, that is not, he's not Nosferatu. He's not a vampire. That is a data entry error, or maybe I just didn't even fill in that thing. I must have to put in, let's put it this way, you guys. He's been doing this less than 3 years. So definitely an experience advantage here for Tafon Nchukwi. For Murzakanov, but it's Nchukwi who has 4 UFC level fights. Murzakanov only has 1. Both of these guys are good finishers. Nchukwi 67% finish rate, Murzakanov 80% finish rate, and in their 1 combined losses, neither one of them has ever been finished. Both of these guys are landing significantly more significant strikes than they absorb, but we only have a 1 fight sample size for Murzakanov. We do see a 53% striking accuracy, about a 0.6% knockdowns for total significant strikes landed, and Tafon Nchukwi landing 0.58 knockdowns per 15 minutes here, and he's never been knocked down. He's shown striking defense. It's not bad at about 56%. So Tafon Nchukwi is a striker by trade, you guys. He is a Muay Thai striker. That is his base. That's what got him into mixed martial arts. Azamat Murzakanov has a Sambo base, and we know what that means. It means that, he's got some really good wrestling. He's got some good ground and pound, and he's got some good stand-up. Murzakanov is very explosive. He has kind of a karate stance. He jumps in and out. He explodes in and out, and he lands big shots. He's very dangerous on the ground, on the feet, as is Tafon Nchukwi. But it is Nchukwi who has a little bit more of a kickboxing base as opposed to Murzakanov here. But when we get to the grappling, it's Murzakanov who does have that Sambo base, and we will expect Azamat Murzakanov to be the more well-rounded mixed martial artist here. When you watch the film on him, there's really not a ton of it, but, this guy's fighting heavyweights and taking down heavyweights and controlling them on the ground. He's got excellent ground and pound. He's got very heavy hands, as does Nchukwi, but he does go for takedowns a lot on the regional scene. He is fighting a lot of heavyweights. You see him in the Brave open weight tournament against Mohamed Fakhruddin and against Guido in a sense. Both those guys are really big guys. And he's taking them down and having his way with them on the ground. So Murzakanov is going to have the much better ground game here. And when we look at strength of schedule, we don't really have much to look at in terms of the UFC here, you guys. But Tafon Nchukwi has a win over William Knight prior to being in the UFC. And when we look at Murzakanov's fights, you guys, he's got some decent wins here. He beat Mateus Sheffo on the Contender Series, who's 14-6. And you see the Brave tournament wins both on the same night, you guys. This was an open weight tournament, and these fights took place on the same night. He beat Guido in a cinch by unanimous decision in a 2-round fight, and he knocked out Fakhruddin with an uppercut at 3:47 of round 1. Before he knocked him out with an uppercut, I think he might have broken his leg too. Was landing some nasty low leg kicks. Fakhruddin couldn't put weight on the leg after he landed one of them, and then he got knocked out with the uppercut after Azamat Murzakanov literally asked him, "Do you want to quit?" And Fakhruddin said, "No, I don't want to quit." And then he got knocked out like 3 seconds later. So that was a nasty one. A win over Sakaev, 0-3 in ACB. And he does have a win over Andre Muniz. Yes, that Andre Muniz knocks him out at 50 seconds of round 1. And then before that, we don't see much, you guys. 3-11 Bogdan Bulak, a 1-1 Eric Ellerby, an 0-1 Alexei Sidorenko, a 2-1 Alec Hubin, and a 0-0 Anzor Kakamov. So in terms of strength of schedule, it's probably Nchukwi who's been fighting a little bit better brand of competition, but the I would say on the regional scene, Murzakanov has faced the better guys here, so it's very close. But in my opinion, Murzakanov is just as dangerous as Nchukwi is on the feet, but it's going to be that Sambo background that sets him apart and gives him more ways to win this fight. So I'm going to be picking Azamat Murzakanov to win this fight and win it in the very first round, you guys, by ground and pound knockout. I just don't think Nchukwi has seen a grappler of Murzakanov's quality. And when you see somebody who's really an undersized, he should be a middleweight probably, taking down and holding down gigantic mountains of men like Guido in a sense, this guy is very dangerous on the feet as well. So I'm going to be picking Azamat Murzakanov to win this one in the first round by knockout, you guys, via ground and pound. The next fight. Oh, God. This is when the job is hard. Kris Moutinho versus Guido Cannetti. We got a Mountain Dew, hair-colored guy here who's like a punching bag going up against an old man who's right now 42 years old in Guido Cannetti, a 42-year-old bantamweight. This is the absolute definition of a 1-800-GAMBLER fight, you guys. And I mean, if I can just kind of be honest with you, I didn't really break this fight down. I'm going to give you the stats and then beg you not to bet on this fight. And here's why. Let's start with that. Let's just, because like this is more important than the stats. This is the public service announcement from your Uncle Weezy. If you bet on this fight and you lose, what's going to happen? What's going to happen when you look yourself in the mirror after you lose that bet? Because you'll be saying one of two things to yourself. You'll either be saying, oh my God, I bet on Kris Moutinho. Or you will be saying this, oh my God, I bet on Guido Cannetti. You know, I bet on a dude with Mountain Dew colored hair thinking he would win a fight. I bet on a 42-year-old bantamweight thinking he would win a fight. You know, we all lose when we make bad gambling decisions. And that is my reasoning for not betting this fight, because I don't want to have to look myself in the mirror late on Saturday night with tears in my eyes and ask myself why I felt that I had to have a great read on this fight. Okay, you guys? So there's the public service announcement. 1-800-GAMBLER. Don't bet this fight. But if you are betting this fight, if you do have a strong read, you do your thing. Here are the stats. Kris Moutinho is 13 years younger. That is absolutely statistically significant here. He's 29 and Cannetti's 42. He's an inch taller. Cannetti's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage, and both of these guys are southpaws. So that's always an interesting stylistic matchup. Usually it's a fighter with better training partners that has more access to southpaws that will be able to understand, you know, how they change their defense fighting against a fellow southpaw and how they attack a fellow southpaw. But what's interesting here is that even though Cannetti is 13 years older, you guys, he has the same amount of fights as Moutinho does. And Moutinho has got about 90 more minutes in the pro cage, even though Guido Cannetti's been doing this almost 9 years longer. And it's Cannetti with 6 more UFC level fights. So he's been fighting a much higher percentage of his career at the highest level here, 50% of his career at the UFC level, while for Moutinho, it's less than 10%. And Moutinho, a 44% finish rate. He's got 3 knockouts and 1 submission and 5 decision wins. Moutinho has been finished in 100% of his losses, while Cannetti has a 75% finish rate and 8 wins. He's got 3 wins by submission, 3 by knockout, and we've got an 84% finish rate in his losses, or it's 83.6, I think. So, yeah, it would be 5 of his 6 losses coming inside the distance. So, one bet that I guess I won't call 1-800-GAMBLER on you guys is if you bet that this fight doesn't go to decision, you really do like to see in 11 combined losses that 10 of them have finished inside the distance. It leads you to believe that they might be quitters or they might just not be that good. And that's a possibility on both counts here. So that would be a bet that I would be okay with. In terms of our striking numbers, you know, this is important. Kris Moutinho, you know, absorbed 230 significant strikes in less than 15 minutes. This guy's a punching bag. You know, this guy has no striking defense at all. You know, it's like throwing an apple at a gigantic brick wall. I mean, if you can't hit it, it's time to go home and, you know, maybe try crochet or some shit because you don't got an arm. But yeah, you can hit this guy with anything. He's a complete punching bag. And then 32% striking accuracy, you know, so I mean, I guess, you know, it was a rough day for him. Taking that fight on short notice against Sean O'Malley, one of the best strikers in this division. You know, obviously it's not an ideal way to come into the UFC. And then Cannetti, over his 7-fight sample size, is actually landing more significant strikes than he absorbs, but he is chinny. He's gotten knocked down on 3 times in 7 fights, so that's pretty alarming. And, I mean, Moutinho, he's been knocked down as well. So, Cannetti, 50% on his takedown attempts, pretty efficient in the wrestling exchanges. He's averaging over 2 takedowns for 15 minutes. He's out-controlling his opponents by like a 5% margin, and he's showing 70% takedown defense while showing 50% takedown accuracy. But, you know, I mean, like what's not in the stats here is the fact that Moutinho does come forward, you guys. He pressures. When you watch him on the regional scene, you know, that's the best part of his game is that, you know, he is a punching bag. He's not skilled. He's defensively completely irresponsible. But, when you combine that with the ability to just kind of walk forward, walk your opponents down, and you can take a punch, it can wear down your opponents and you can grind them out potentially, which is why I think that this guy, in addition to the fact that he's fighting a 42-year-old man, is why he's the favorite here. Cannetti is facing winning fighters here with a winning record of 3.29 wins and 2.71 losses, 1.21 ratio, and his wins are actually over winning competition, and his losses are also to winning competition. You look at the last 5, Kyung Ho Kang, Diego Rivas, Marlon Vera, Dana Becquerel, and Manny Martinez, way better than Gravely, who's a really good opponent, but then Johnny Campbell, Ashik Ajim, Andrew Salas, and then Sean O'Malley. So, yeah, it's Cannetti who's fought the better brand of competition. Cannetti who's probably going to be the better grappler here. He's more efficient in the striking because he does have a little bit of defense. And, obviously Moutinho is going to be much younger here and has fought, but it's Cannetti who's fought the better competition over 14 fights and has a lot more time in the game and doesn't have a ton of tread on the tires. I'm going to say that this fight doesn't go to decision. I don't really care who wins it, but I will say that I'll go with Cannetti. But, I'm not touching this fight with a 10-foot pole. Let me say goodnight to my guy, F. Carrillo, who's in here saying, good night, Uncle Smooth Weezy. Long day tomorrow driving from El Dorado, Arkansas to Baton Rouge, then back home to Houston, all in one day, chasing the oil and gas grind. Thank you for working hard, F. Carrillo. Thank you for supporting the show. Have a great day tomorrow, and thanks for checking in for the beginning of the show, my man. Hopefully you'll be able to catch the rest of it tomorrow while you're doing all that driving. Drive safe. Get home safe. Talk to you soon, brother. Be well. Okay, next fight, you guys. This is a much more interesting fight. Dalcha Lungiambula squaring off against Cody Brundage here. Let me get the odds up on this fight. And like I say, all the odds are courtesy of betonline.ag. We got Dalcha minus 123, Cody Brundage plus 103. Fight doesn't go to decision at minus 140, you guys. So it's Brundage, who's 7 years younger, 6 inches taller, and it's going to be Lungiambula, who has a 4-inch reach advantage. We got Dalcha training at Dragon Power in South Africa, and it's Cody Brundage at Factory X. Lungiambula, 6 more pro fights, about twice as much time in the cage, and about 4 more years as a pro. And 2 more UFC level fights as well, and about 35 more minutes in the UFC cage. Give me a second. Sorry, I was so close to sneezing there, and it just did not come out. I hate when that happens. All right, you guys. So in terms of finishing, both of these guys are pretty good finishers, but Cody has finished 5 of his 6 wins, and Dalcha has finished 6 of his 11 wins. And these guys have been finishing their losses a combined 3 of 5. Lungiambula finished in 2 of 3 losses. Brundage finished in 1 of 2. We don't have much in the way of striking numbers for Brundage here. He lands 2.7, absorbs 1.67, 62% accuracy, but less than 50% striking defense. And we've got Dalcha here is absorbing 1 more significant strike per minute than he lands, and he's getting a lot more volume thrown than him as well. He has landed 1 knockdown, and he's been knocked down once. In terms of the wrestling, Dalcha's been pretty good, man, averaging over 2 takedowns for 15 minutes, out-controlling his opponents 30% to 20%, showing 75% takedown defense. Pretty decent grappling efficiency here. Dalcha's got some really nice judo, and Cody Brundage has got some really nice wrestling. The way I kind of see this playing out close on the feet. I see Brundage maybe winning minutes on the feet, Lungiambula maybe winning moments on the feet. And I think that if Cody is comfortable in space, that's kind of how he wins this fight. If he can win minutes on the feet in the striking exchanges, and when he chooses to wrestle, do so from the middle of the cage and not on the cage, that would be the way to make Dalcha uncomfortable. Dalcha's a fantastic judo player, a black belt, and he really is a judo first type of guy. When you look at the type of takedowns this guy's trying to get, they are judo takedowns. He's using throws. He's using trips. He's using reaps. He loves the wizard trip, which is just an overhook throw where you step in front. It's a really simple technique, but when you're very strong like Dalcha is, and your judo is really good, you don't want to be hips to hips with those kind of guys because they can throw you once your weight is close to them. What they have a problem with is trying to defend single and double leg takedowns because you don't see that as a high-level judo player. You can't attack the legs in judo. So I think that Brundage has a chance to win this fight if he can wrestle in the open cage and not do it on the cage, where I think Dalcha will have the advantage, because I think whichever one sets up their takedowns better is going to be the one that's going to win more minutes on the feet, on the ground. And I think that's going to be the key to unlocking whoever wins this fight, you guys. If we look at the strength of schedule here, it's Brundage who's facing the winning competition. It's Dalcha who's facing the more experienced competition. But Dalcha does have a loss to Magomed Ankalaev, so he's faced by far the best fighter out of anybody here. And he was a champion in a couple of organizations in South Africa where he was fighting 5-round fights. So he does have some, while he does slow down, and a guy that's that bricked up is obviously going to have some conditioning problems, he does fight while he's tired. He doesn't quit. Definitely not a quitter. So very interesting fight here, you guys. Do you like Dalcha's judo or do you like Cody's wrestling? I'm going to go with Cody's wrestling in this case because I think he's going to have the speed advantage here. I think he's going to have the conditioning advantage here. He trains with better fighters up at Factory X, and that striking is improving. Remember that Cody Brundage is the much younger guy here at 27. We can be expecting him to make improvements. He's got to watch out for that power of Dalcha, and he's got to make sure he doesn't feed Dalcha his hips while they're standing. If he can do both of those things, I think he can win this fight. My pick is going to be Cody Brundage by decision, you guys. Let's move on to the next one here. Let me get a sip of coffee and be right back with you guys here. All right, so we have got Sabina Mazo squaring off against Miranda Maverick here. Miranda Maverick coming in on short notice, replacing Mandy Baum in this fight. So it's going to be Miranda Maverick, who's a big favorite right now at -300. Sabina Mazo on the cutback +250. And the fight doesn't go to decision right now, is +195. Now, for this fight, they are both 24 years old. It's going to be Sabina Mazo, who's 4 inches taller and has a 5-inch reach advantage. Miranda Maverick is a southpaw, though. Sabina fighting out of King's MMA. I don't know if she's still there or not. I thought there were some problems there, but I'm not sure. Miranda out of the House of Muay Thai. It's Miranda Maverick who has one more professional fight, but it's Sabina Mazo who has a little more minutes in the cage and a little more time as a pro, and has fought 6 of her 12 pro fights at the UFC level, while for Maverick, it's only 4 of 13. However, Miranda Maverick was facing pretty high-level regional scene competition in Invicta, a couple of former UFC fighters there. So really, the level of competition is pretty close. So Mazo going to be bigger, though. The experience is very close. It's Mazo who has a 33% finish rate, while Maverick has a 67% finish rate. So it's Maverick who's the better finisher here, and she's shown a little more durability as she's never been finished in 4 losses, while Mazo has been finished once in 3 losses. If we look at the striking numbers here, Mazo has some really impressive numbers here. Throws a lot more volume than her opponent. She's offering about 14.6 significant strike attempts per minute. Her opponents are only attempting about 10.5. She lands about 2 more significant strikes per minute than her opponents do. And she's even got a little bit of power, having landed a head kick knockout in the UFC, 1 knockdown in 547 significant strikes, and a pretty respectable striking defense here at 57%. And she has been knocked down once in 6 UFC fights. Miranda is landing more strikes than she absorbs, about 1 more, a little bit less accurate than Sabina. And the defense is about the same. She's never been knocked down. So, Sabina Mazo should be the cleaner, more technical striker here. But we did see Miranda Maverick's striking kind of take the next step against Liana Jojua. We saw that she could, put her Muay Thai techniques together and do some damage on the feet. So we can expect Maverick to be continuously improving in the striking here, while Mazo is already good there. But in the grappling, I think, is where the big difference is here. Now, Mazo actually has been 4 of 5 on her takedown attempts here, 80% takedown accuracy. And despite the fact that Mazo has tried 5 takedowns and her opponents have attempted 15, which is 3 times more, she's only being outcontrolled by a little over 3%, 19.6% to 16.1%. So she's been actually pretty responsible with the grappling and not losing a ton of minutes on the ground. But here's the thing. She's only been taken down 5 times, but in that control time, we've got almost 20%. So it's about 16 and a half minutes on 5 takedowns. So when she does get taken down, she can be kept there. But the takedown defense at 66.67% isn't horrible. Miranda has 4 of 6 on her takedown attempt. She's averaging over 1 takedown per 15 minutes. And she's being outcontrolled 12.23%, and her opponents are getting almost 36% control time. However, if we were to kind of look deeper into that, we would see that all pretty much came from the Blanchfield fight. And I believe Maverick will be way down at the bottom because, she actually won't. Jones, Robertson, Aldrich, Fletcher, Semelsberger, Silva, Pereira, Glenn, Dober. I must have missed it. Damn it. Right, Kamuela, Kirk. There's Mazo. There's Maverick. So we see that Maverick gave up 720 seconds of control time against Blanchfield. Macy Barber outcontrolled her for about 60 seconds, and she actually outcontrolled a really good grappler in Gillian Robertson by 70 seconds. So, I really do believe that if Miranda Maverick wants to win minutes on the ground, you guys, against Sabina Mazo, and she commits to the wrestling, and then once it's on the ground, commits to winning minutes there, being position over submission, working the ground and pound, staying busy but not getting too risky, I think that would be the easiest path for her. She might be able to win some minutes on the feet, but Mazo should be better. Big height advantage, big reach advantage, much longer pedigree with kickboxing. So I see why Maverick is minus 300, but I'm not parlaying her at this price, you guys. She is taking the fight on short notice. We would have to be very confident that she would get the takedowns that she would go for, because she's going to need to have a really good gas tank in order to push a wrestling heavy game plan for a full 3 rounds. If she's not able to push that game plan for a full 3 rounds, there's a really good likelihood she'll lose minutes on the feet. And at minus 300, that's just too much to ask on short notice, I believe, against Sabina Mazo. However, I will be picking Miranda Maverick to win this fight by decision, you guys. But I'm not laying minus 300 here. And I probably wouldn't be gutsy enough to just leave it as a submission, or a decision play, because I think she could potentially get a submission on the ground. She's really good on the ground. It's just that she got exposed by a next level grappler in her last performance against Erin Blanchfield. So yeah, we're going to go there, you guys, with Miranda Maverick by decision. The next fight that we're going to be looking at is one that I might do a balls deep breakdown on tomorrow. Damon Jackson against Kamuela Kirk. Very interesting fight here. Grappler versus grappler. 6 years younger is Kamuela Kirk. 1 inch taller, but it's Kirk who's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. Both of these guys fight out of both stances. It's Kamuela fighting out of Siege MMA, but he also trains over at Fight Ready sometimes, and Damon Jackson out of Fortis. Damon Jackson, 9 more professional fights, 60 more minutes in the pro cage, about a year and a half more as a pro, and he's fought a much higher percentage of his career at the UFC level and at a higher level, period. While Kamuela Kirk has 2 UFC fights in 16 pro fights. So yeah, 4 more UFC fights for Jackson, about 30 more minutes in the UFC cage. When we look at the finish rates, both of these guys are spectacular finishers. Damon Jackson has finished 17 of his 19 wins inside the distance. And for Kamuela Kirk, it is 11 of 12. So 28 out of 31 of these guys' combined wins have finished inside the distance. That's over a 90% finish rate combined. And in their 8 combined losses, 5 of them have been finished inside the distance. Damon Jackson's been finished in all 4 of his pro losses inside the distance, while for Kamuela Kirk, he's been knocked out once by Billy Quarantillo on the Contender Series, but in his other 3 losses, he was never finished. And I mean, let's face it, Quarantillo put a crazy pace on him. So there aren't a lot of guys that can kind of like replicate the pace that Billy Quarantillo puts on at 145, besides like maybe Jonathan Pierce. But Damon Jackson puts on a pace too, you guys. He does really have fantastic conditioning, and he goes hard for a full 3 rounds. And we've seen that, especially in the Mirsad-Bektic fight. Man, this guy took that fight on 3 days' notice and got a 3rd round finish against Mirsad-Bektic. Looked fantastic in that 3rd round. He's a really dangerous grappler. Both of these guys are landing entirely, are showing bad striking ratios. 2.54 strikes landed for Jackson, 3.25 absorbed. While for Kirk, he lands 3.27 and absorbs 5.8. Kamuela Kirk showing 30% striking defense, you guys. He is still better than Kris Moutinho, but, that's bottom of the barrel. So very, very poor striking defense here. Kamuela's got to do something about that. And Damon Jackson's striking is no joke, you guys. He has gotten some knockouts on the regional scene. And because he uses his striking to set up his wrestling attacks, he will throw hard. Because, the great thing you can do as a wrestler is just throw that overhand right with everything you got. Even if it misses by a mile, you're kind of already naturally moving into a takedown attempt. So Damon Jackson's striking, I believe, will be comparable here with Kamuela Kirk's. And both of these guys are black belts on the ground. They're both fantastic grapplers. Damon Jackson getting 9 of 27 takedowns in 6 UFC fights. 42.06% control time for and 25% control time against. So, this guy has been spending 2/3 of his fights in control time positions, while Kirk has only got 6% control time for, but 27% control time allowed, showing sub 60% takedown defense, being taken down 2.96 times per 15 minutes. And you'd say, wow, that's bad. But right across the aisle is something even worse, you guys. Damon Jackson, 35.29% takedown defense, and he's being taken down even more times per 15 minutes than Kamuela Kirk is. So here's the thing. Kirk attempting 2.5 takedowns attempting 2.5 per fight in 2 fights. Damon Jackson attempting 4.5 takedown attempts in 6 fights. So it's Damon who's been the more willing guy to go to the wrestling here. And I would suggest that both of these guys are fantastic grapplers, that whichever one of these guys initiates the wrestling attacks is probably going to be likely to complete them and have the potential to win minutes on the ground. That being said, they're both very dangerous on the ground, so I don't know how keen the others will be in order to start the grappling attacks here. So I could see this taking place on the feet as well. Kirk is comfortable there. Damon Jackson seems to be comfortable there for short periods of time. But I think that Damon Jackson will be the more likely one to initiate the wrestling attacks. And if we look at the strength of schedule stats here, you guys, Damon Jackson with a 1.05 ratio, Kirk with a 1.67. So Kirk on the aggregate fighting the better competition and beating the better competition. And it's even Kirk who has the better losses. But remember, that's only in 2 fights, while Damon Jackson has 6. Damon Jackson has lost to Maverick Ankalaev on the regional scene, who I believe is still might be undefeated. Ilya Topuria by knockout, the wins over Charles Rosa, Mirsad-Bektic, and Mauro Chalet on the regional scene. Kamuela Kirk win over Makwan Amirkhani in his UFC debut, and a loss in his Contender Series debut against Billy Quarantillo. Fight against Bruno Sosa for Kamuela Kirk was perplexing. I don't know what the game plan was there. I don't know why you would stand at range with a karate fighter and just lose those first 2 rounds like Kamuela did without really going to the wrestling attacks. So that was the one thing that worried me, because it seems like Bruno Sosa's a guy that you should wrestle. And he was losing those striking exchanges for the first 2 rounds. But then to Kamuela's credit, in the 3rd round, he came out and he really put it on Bruno with the striking. So Kamuela showed faith in his striking against a really good striker. That faith may not have been warranted for the first 2 rounds, but in the 3rd it was. So, I think this is a high-level fight, you guys. I think that both of these guys are sneaky, tough lightweights here, and that this is going to be a very close fight. I'm sorry, featherweights. But I'm going to go with the experience of Jackson. I'm going to go with maybe who has the better gas tank here in Jackson and the more aggressive wrestling attack in Jackson. So, yeah, I'll be picking Damon Jackson. Right now, we got this at a pick'em. So Bootsy barking in the background probably isn't helping any of you guys. But, yeah, I'm going to be picking Damon Jackson to win this fight, you guys. The next one that we're going to go to here is Trevin Jones coming in at plus 120 against Javid Basharat, minus 140, making his UFC debut here after having a really nice performance against Orhan Kalan on the Contender Series, where he got a late 3rd round finish in that fight. So the fight doesn't go to decision, is minus 150 here. And I think that's kind of an interesting look, because if you see the finish rate on Javid Basharat, he is a killer. So it's Javid who's 5 years younger here, you guys, 26 years old in comparison to 31 for Trevin. Javid's going to be 2 inches taller. Trevin's going to have the 1-inch reach advantage here. It's Trevin who's the southpaw, and Basharat fighting out of the orthodox stance. London shoot fighters for Javid, fights there with his brother as well. And Trevin Jones there at Vita BJJ. It's Trevin Jones who has the experience advantage, having 10 more pro fights, about 200 more minutes in the pro cage, and 5 more years as a pro. And he's got 3 UFC level fights to Basharat's 1. In the finish rates, Trevin Jones has finished 100% of his UFC wins. There are 2 of them against Batista, Mario Batista, and then the other one was against Valiev. And he's got a 100% finish rate in his wins, and he's been subbed in his only UFC loss. So all 3 of his UFC fights have finished inside the distance, as has Basharat. And Basharat, a 55% sub rate, 45% knockout rate. Do the math. You're going to find out that's a 100% finish rate in 11 wins, 6 of them by submission, 5 of them by knockout. In the striking here, you guys, it should absolutely be Javid who's the minute winner on the feet. It should absolutely be Trevin Jones who's the moment winner on the feet. If you look at these striking numbers, you guys, Trevin Jones is terrible. He lands 2.22 and he absorbs 4.49. So he's getting outlanded at more than a 2-to-1 ratio. He throws 4.05, but his opponents are throwing almost twice as much at 7.29. But he's got that power. He can get his ass whooped for like 8 minutes straight and then land one big shot and completely turn the tide of the fight. And we've seen him do that twice already. So it's an interesting fight to break down because, you kind of feel like Javid with the way that he switches stances. And when you watch the film on him, he's slick, you guys. He's good. He looks like he's very technical. He's got power in both hands, and he's constantly switching stances and then mixing up his attacks. He's very difficult to get a handle on. 63% striking accuracy in his UFC debut, 62.5% striking defense. Look at the domination, landing about 5 significant strikes a minute, absorbing about 0.85. And then he gets 3 out of his 5 takedown attempts, and he controls 70% of the fight and only yields 0.23. So, a clean sheet by Javid Basharat. He absolutely destroyed Orhan Kalan in his UFC debut. And then we got Jones here who's only 2 for 13 on his takedown attempts. But despite the fact that he's only gotten 2 takedowns, he's out-controlling his opponents 41% to 4.6%. So he did win a lot of minutes on the cage against Saeed Yaqub. He has been taken down twice and given up 4.68% control time, but that's a very small amount. I think that's 1.3 minutes of takedowns or of control time on 2 takedowns and 7 attempts. So even when Jones gets taken down, he doesn't really get kept there. Jones is going to probably be the better grappler here, you guys. He's a multiple-time no-gi grappling champion. He is a black belt. When he does get control time, he keeps it. He's very good from top position. The problem is he's 2 of 13 on his takedown attempts. So if you want to see him winning minutes here, you really have to count on the fact that he's going to be able to do one of 2 things. Land one of those big shots, and, you can only catch lightning in a bottle so many times, or he's going to have to, take down Javid Basharat and win minutes there. But thus far in 3 UFC fights, he's attempted 13 takedowns, but only gotten 2 of them. So it might be difficult for Trevin to win minutes here, but I think he can win moments. And we do know that Javid, having a 100% finish rate in 11 fights, that this guy can absolutely win moments as well. This is a very interesting fight here, you guys. Jones is just defensively irresponsible enough in order for you to like Basharat inside the distance. And this is enough of a step up for Javid Basharat for you to think that there's no reason that Jones couldn't get a submission or land a big shot here himself. So minus 150 at fight doesn't go to decision is a little bit much to pay for a bantamweight fight, because they do finish about 50% of the time. But in this particular case, 4 out of their 4 combined UFC fights have finished inside the distance. Jones has finished guys and been finished, and he looked dead at the end of that Saeed Yaqub fight. So I wasn't surprised that Saeed got the finish there at the end. So I like Javid's ability to win minutes and moments, while I think Trevin Jones is kind of going to be dependent on either getting a takedown early or landing a big shot. As a result of that, I really do believe that Basharat is the side here. I'm going to pick him to win the fight. But the bet for me, you guys, is I'm going to take a look at that minus 150 in this one, you guys, for the fight doesn't go to decision. I might not lean too heavy on it, but 100% finish rate for Javid and 100% finish rate for Jones for and against in his 3 UFC fights leads me to believe that this one finishes inside the distance. I will pick Javid Basharat to win, and I will pick him to win in round 3. By sub or knockout, I really don't care. I really don't know. I'm not interested in going that deep into the prediction here, but yeah, I'm going to pick Javid, the Snow Leopard, to win his UFC debut against some really tough competition here in Trevin Jones. Next fight, you guys, we've got J.J. Aldrich against Gillian Robertson. And right now we've got Robertson as a minus 126 favorite. And we got J.J. Aldrich at plus 106. The fight doesn't go to decision at minus 130 here, you guys. Very interesting. So J.J. Aldrich, 3 years older than Gillian Robertson. They're both 5'5", and it's J.J. who's got a 4-inch reach advantage, and she's a southpaw. Fighting out of Freedom Fighters, Gillian Robertson out of American Top Team. 2 more pro fights for Gillian Robertson. Aldrich a little more cage time. Aldrich about 1.5 years more as a pro, so the experience numbers are very similar for both of them. I wouldn't say either one of them really has an advantage. The only measurables or experience advantage that I can find is that 4-inch reach advantage and the fact that Aldrich is a southpaw. Other than that, the experience numbers very identical. But what isn't identical is the finish stats, you guys. J.J. Aldrich couldn't finish a glass of water. 20% knockout rate, has finished none of her 6 UFC wins inside the distance. She's only finished regional scene competition. She has been finished in 2 of her 4 pro losses and in 1 of her 3 UFC losses. Now, Gillian Robertson, on the other hand, 85% finish rate in her 7 UFC wins and an 80% finish rate in her 10 pro wins. And she has been finished in 2 of her 6 pro losses and in 2 of her 4 UFC losses. She's been submitted once, and she's been knocked out once. When we look at the striking numbers here, JJ Aldrich is going to be the better striker, you guys. Even though her opponents throw more than her and land more than her, JJ Aldrich is the better technical striker. She's the better boxer. She's the better minute winner on the feet in this particular matchup. Gillian has 2.23 significant strikes landed per minute. She absorbed 2.59, 52% striking accuracy, never landed a knockdown. JJ Aldrich has never landed a knockdown. And it's Aldrich who's showing a much more responsible defensive attack here at 61.38%, while Gillian Robertson 51.32. Now, JJ's done a pretty good job of grappling here. She's done a good job of being efficient, as she only has 1 more takedown than her opponents do. She's landed 7 of 17. Her opponents have landed 6 of 19, but yet she's doubling the control time of her opponents, 18.1% to 8.2%. 68% takedown defense here for JJ Aldrich, but only 16% takedown defense for Gillian Robertson here, you guys. Gillian has been fantastic with her wrestling attacks. And as we can see, as the grappler here, she's spending over 70% of her UFC cage time in control time positions, either for or against. 49.3% control time for, 22% control time against. So this is kind of like one of those striker versus grappler matchups, because we do know that Gillian's going to be the most comfortable on the ground here. And we know that Aldrich will be way more comfortable on the feet. And Aldrich has spent about 27% of her UFC cage time in control time positions, 73% on the feet, while it's like 73% on the ground for Gillian Robertson. So like they're at polar opposites in terms of how much time they spent, grappling and striking here. So who's going to win the battle? Who's going to get the fight to where they're most comfortable? Is JJ Aldrich going to be able to stop the takedowns of Gillian Robertson? Or is Gillian going to have her way, initiate the grappling attacks, rack up a bunch of control time, and go for submissions? I do believe that it will be Gillian getting the job done here. Now, we've got a 69% or almost a 69% takedown defense for Aldrich here. She's given up only 8% control time, so we love to see that. However, if you look at the opponents for JJ Aldrich, she's really not facing any wrestlers, you guys, and that's a little bit concerning to me. Let's see if I can find her stats. I think they're going to be up here. And as always, you guys, you can download these stats in the description of the video for free. Use them to help make your gambling decisions on Saturday. But when we look at who JJ Aldrich has faced here, and who's taken her down, it's Juliana Lima in her first fight 4 out of 6 times, right? So Juliana got 4 of 6 takedowns in that fight. But if you take out the Lima fight, in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fights that followed, JJ Aldrich has only been taken down twice out of 13 attempts. So that's really good takedown defense. But then you look at the names, right? Chan Mi John, pure striker. Danielle Taylor, boxer. Poliana Viana, definitely a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. Macy Barber, nice all-around fighter. Mueller, I don't really know what she was good at. Sabina Mazo, basically a pure striker. Courtney Casey likes to strike. And Vanessa Demopoulos, who is a grappler, but really, she's a 115-pounder. And she took that fight at 125 on short notice. And Vanessa Demopoulos has a 0% takedown accuracy against fellow strawweights, not much less, a much bigger JJ Aldrich. So I would suggest that this is going to be the most grappling heavy attack that JJ Aldrich has ever seen in the UFC. And we know what Gillian Robertson is capable of on the ground. I think that we're going to really see JJ's takedown defense and grappling tested here. And it's going to be tested by the only woman in the division that has more fights than JJ Aldrich and has won more by submission than anybody in this point. And that's Gillian the Savage Robertson. So I will be picking Gillian the Savage Robertson to win this fight. And I think she's going to win it by decision, though, because Aldrich, even though she's been finished twice and once in the UFC, and it was by knockout, she's never been submitted here in the UFC. But Robertson is absolutely always game to do that. So I think at minus 126 here, I think I like a shot on Gillian Robertson, and I think that she will give Aldrich some looks that she hasn't seen in a very long time. I know that Aldrich knows it's coming. I mean, when you're facing Gillian Robertson, it's very clear that you're going to see a grappling heavy game plan. But, is she up to the task of facing that grappling heavy game plan by a woman that's been one of the best at doing it in this division thus far since it started, Gillian Robertson. So, yeah, I'm going to be picking Robertson here to get it done via grappling heavy game plan. And this one, you guys, this is a very interesting fight here. And it looks like I did not do a ticker for this fight. So let me create one here. And that's my bad, you guys. Matthew Semelsberger. And he is right now at minus 220 on Bet Online versus AJ Fletcher. And the comeback on AJ Fletcher right now on Bet Online is plus 185. Fight doesn't go to decision is minus 270. So they are predicting violence in this one, you guys. Let's scroll that across the bottom. That's just bad preparation by me, you guys, but there it is. Or wait, no, here. There we go. Now we got it up there. Okay. So, yeah, Semelsberger is going to be the more experienced fighter here with 3 more professional fights. It's going to be Fletcher, who's 4 years younger, Semelsberger 3 inches taller, and he has an 8-inch reach advantage. That is incredibly, incredibly huge. And my God, my guy Borgie in here with an absolutely massive donation. Borgie, ring a ding ding. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I thank everybody, all 56 of you that are watching Just the Tip right now, spending your Tuesday night with us, breaking down 14 fights, putting in the work like we have to do every week so that we can stack cash tickets like flapjacks and take some of these bookies' money. My man Borgie hooking it up with an absolutely gigantic donation. Borgie, thank you so much, brother, for donating to the show, for watching Just the Tip. Love each and every one of you guys for showing this love to Uncle Weezy, and I couldn't appreciate it more. I'm lucky to have the best audience right now on YouTube, man. I really am. And we got my guy Zero Mieto saying that, man. Thank you. Thanks for everything you do, Weezy. Much appreciated, man. I really appreciate that. And that is real money. Though that little funny L there, that is real money. That's pounds, baby. Man. And then we've got, let's see here. Papa Chuck is saying, Weezy, you do too much work for those stats to give them away for free. Start a Patreon and charge like $5 or $10 for access. I think you would be surprised with who pays up to have access to it. I appreciate that, man. And I might do that at some point because, but I do like to give them out for free. I do know that these help people. I love having the stats all in one place so that you can see them side by side. So, you got to tame that beast, says Justin, and he's absolutely right. And, that cat is so loud. So you guys know that have already been with me from the beginning here. But, man, that cat is so loud. But, this is a loud fight here, you guys, that we got. Semelsberger versus Fletcher. So Semelsberger's got twice as much cage time and 3 more fights than AJ Fletcher, you guys. We've got about a little more than 2 more years as a pro, and he's got 3 more UFC level fights and 28 more minutes in the UFC cage. We see a 78% finish rate and 9 wins for Semelsberger, so that's 7 inside the distance out of 9, 6 by knockout, 1 by submission, and AJ Fletcher has finished 8 of his 9 wins inside the distance. He's undefeated, and in Semelsberger's 3 losses, he's been finished twice, once by knockout, once by submission. So if we look at the striking numbers here, Semelsberger has some really nice efficiency on the feet. He lands more than his opponents, 6.16 landed, 5.67 absorbed, but his opponents throw more than him. So he throws 12.5 significant strike attempts per minute to Semelsberger, but his opponents are throwing over 14.5. 49% striking accuracy is excellent. Landing a knockdown on 1.6% of the total significant strikes that you land is excellent. That means 3 knockdowns in 4 UFC fights for Semelsberger, and 1.47 knockdowns for 15 minutes is excellent. And then a 61.5% striking defense. Anything north of 60% is good. It makes you one of the more defensively responsible strikers in the division. So Semelsberger showing some really good attributes and numbers and metrics here on the feet, you guys. Fletcher, what do we got here for Fletcher? What do we got, like 3 minutes in the cage? So there's really not much of a sample size here. Yeah, 2.4 minutes. He absolutely waxed ass. 4.17 landed, 1.67 absorbed, 62.5% striking defense. It only took him 10 significant strikes to land a knockdown. So that's a 10% knockdown for total significant strikes landed. And his striking defense over 75%. So a clean sheet put up by A.J. Fletcher. He even got a takedown and outcontrolled his opponent 23% to 0%. So, 2 fantastic athletes here in Semelsberger, and Fletcher, 2 former football players who came to mixed martial arts late in their lives by comparison to a lot of the young fighters today. Probably did it after their football careers kind of flamed out. And then, as it happens in that sport, it's a brutal sport. All it can take is just one injury. Or then once, you get near that UFC or the NFL level, you have to have ridiculous physical and athletic gifts to even be considered. So, they're moving on. And now they're both mixed martial artists. And us mixed martial art fans are lucky to have these two because they look to be really exciting, really high upside fighters that should be around for a while because they fight in a very exciting fashion. So Semelsberger's faced the better competition, you guys. He should be the cleaner, better striker. And let's not forget, you guys, Semelsberger here has an 8-inch reach advantage. So if he can keep this fight standing and he continues to be defensively responsible, like he was against Chaos Williams not getting knocked down, I do see Semelsberger having an opportunity to win moments and a lot of minutes on the feet here. Fletcher doesn't really have a wrestling background, but we do see him on his regional scene footage mixing in the wrestling, and because he's athletic, he can get it. Semelsberger is kind of a reactive wrestler, really. He just kind of uses it when it feels right, but I don't think he really plans to use it. The problem with this fight for me, you guys, is that there's a ton of missing information. When you go to the tape index and try to find footage on A.J. Fletcher, there's only 3 fights, and I believe they all finished in the first round. They're not against fantastic competition, and it's really hard to know, what the next step is for this guy because now he's going to be facing a guy that he's not much less experienced than. He's only got 3 less professional fights. And Fletcher is undefeated at 9-0, while Semelsberger has 3 losses on his record. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Fletcher looks like a unit, though, you guys. He's built like a fire hydrant, and he hits extremely hard. He looks really confident in there. He looks very at ease in there, and he looks to have a process. He looks to land his power shots, and he does mix in his wrestling. So, from what I've seen in the tiny bit of tape that I've seen on Fletcher where he's just shaving ass, he looks like probably the higher upside fighter here to me. But I've seen Semelsberger in there against UFC competition, Starch and Martin Sano, which doesn't really mean much. But Starch and Jason Witt, even though he's super chinny, Witt's a veteran. I mean, Witt's been around the sport for a long time, and he's got some good wins on his resume. Got a win over Brian Barberena, for Christ's sake. So, Semelsberger has just been in there with the better brand of competition. We've seen more of him, and we've seen his striking, and we can call it UFC level. Can we really call anything that AJ Fletcher is doing right now UFC level from the very, very tiny amount of tape that we've seen on him and from the 2.4 minutes of tape that we got on him on the Contender Series? I really don't know. I see while Semelsberger is the favorite here, I will pick him. But I was this close to making a bet on AJ Fletcher at plus 205 earlier today. I didn't pull the trigger, and now I missed it. He's at plus 185. I'd like to get AJ Fletcher at plus 200 here, and I think it's worth a sprinkle. The guy has looked phenomenal. And sometimes these guys that do look phenomenal on the regional scene, and then they look phenomenal in their contender series fight, maybe sometimes they do look phenomenal in their UFC debut as well. And then there are a lot more that flame out and don't look nearly as good once they take that step up, once the bright lights are on, once they step into that UFC cage against somebody that's been there before. So yeah, because of those reasons, I'm going to have to go with Semelsberger here to win the fight. But I think that there's a lot of value on the current line for Fletcher at plus 185. The guy's got skills. He's confident. He's athletic. He's explosive. He's strong. And he does mix in his wrestling. So he's super live at plus 185, at plus 200. I see that Eric Betts Fights says he bet Fletcher at plus 200. I'm really liking that bet, says Eric Betts Fights. I like it too, man. I'm pissed off at myself that I did not pull the trigger on that. And I was only going to do it for a half unit, just to stay small, just to say, okay, I'll do it for a half unit because there's a lot of upside at plus 200 and because there's a lot of upside in AJ Fletcher. But it's still, at the end of the day, I don't want to have too much money on it because he could come in here against a UFC level opponent and just be one of these contender series guys that doesn't take the next step. And, you know, I'm not going to argue that that's not in him because we've seen it happen to so many guys before. But yeah, I'm picking Semelsberger here, but the bet would be, you guys, I can't lay that line, that juice on Semelsberger here. The plus money on Fletcher is a lot more interesting to me. And frankly, if you wanted to make it even more interesting, I think he finishes Semelsberger if he does beat him, because we've seen Semelsberger finished in 2 of his 3 pro losses. So, and Fletcher is scary. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Semelsberger to win the fight. I like the Fletcher bet, and I think this fight probably does finish inside the distance as well. But that one looks like the bookies are all over it, you guys. And let's see. Pereira Silva. This one is fantastic. And you know what? I think I told you guys that I did a Drew Dober, Terrence McKinney balls deep breakdown, but the balls deep breakdown I did was on Alex Pereira versus Bruno Silva. So I cannot believe that I screwed that up. But let's get the banner up for this fight, you guys. Alex Pereira minus 180. Bruno Blindado Silva plus 155. Fight doesn't go to decision. Minus 600, you guys. Wow. People are expecting violence, and why wouldn't they with these two combatants? So if you want a longer look at this fight, into all the numbers on it, check out the Balls Deep breakdown that I did on the MMA Engine YouTube channel last night. This is a brilliant fight. It's Pereira, who's 4 inches taller and going to have a 6-inch reach advantage here, you guys. Bruno Silva with a massive experience and strength of schedule advantage here. 23 more pro fights, over 100 more minutes in the pro cage, and over 5 more years as a pro mixed martial artist. Bruno Silva also 2 more UFC level fights and 13 more minutes in the UFC cage. Both of these guys are savage finishers. Alex Pereira, 100% finish rate, all by knockout. And Bruno Silva, in his 22 wins, he's finished 86% by knockout. So that would be 19 of his 22 wins have come inside the distance, all of them by knockout. And Pereira's been submitted in his only loss, and Bruno Silva has been submitted in 5 of his 6 pro losses. So 6 of the 7 combined losses coming inside the distance, and 23 out of 26 of the wins coming inside the distance. So that is why we're looking at violence. Let's talk about the striking. Alex Pereira has 2 kickboxing wins over Israel Adesanya. Who do you think is the better striker? The guy who's beaten Israel Adesanya twice, or Bruno Silva? Well, they're both fantastic. They're both great. Bruno Silva from mixed martial arts has fantastic striking, great Muay Thai, great knees in the clinch, a lot of power in his hands, big big, strong kicks that he commits to. Alex Pereira, though, is just a next-level striker. He's got a left hand that is unmatched. Big-time kicks himself. Fantastic technique. The length to be able to manage distance well and hit you when you can't hit him. And this guy has got terrifying power in all of his limbs, but in the left hand in particular. He knocked out, what's this guy's name? Thomas Powell in LFA. That dude was face down on the canvas for over 6 minutes. Over 6 minutes. Didn't move, you guys. Was just breathing. Alex Pereira has absolutely terrifying power. Now, there's one statistic that just jumps off the page here, you guys. And remember, this is in 3 UFC fights. This isn't in one fight where he was in there for 3 minutes. This is the Turman fight. This is the Wright fight. And then this is the other fight for Silva was against Sanchez. He is boasting a 32.5% striking defense. So when I break a fight down like this, I have to say to myself, as good as Bruno Silva is on the feet, he's got 19 career wins by knockout. He's got brutal knees. He's got power in both hands. You know, could Israel Adesanya probably pick this dude apart on the feet? Yeah, he probably could. He probably could. And Alex Pereira picked apart Israel Adesanya. So Alex Pereira is going to be the better striker here. The question is, can Bruno Silva get this fight to the ground early and often, over and over again for 3 full rounds? Or if he does get him down, can he finish with ground and pound? Yes. The answer is yes. He can absolutely finish Alex Pereira via submission on the ground because he's just not great on the ground, is Pereira. And he can absolutely finish via ground and pound because Silva's ground and pound is terrifying. And if this fight does get to the ground, that's what Bruno is going to try to do. He's going to try to get into half guard, or he'll just sit in Pereira's guard and he'll just throw accurate shots to the chin and knock him out. So Bruno Silva does have ways to win this fight. He needs to get it to the ground early, and then he needs to finish it there. If he doesn't finish it every minute that he's on the feet with that 32.5% striking defense, I would say that if this fight is at striking range for more than 100 seconds, about 1:40, you're going to see Alex Pereira winning by knockout. So the thing I don't like is Bruno Silva is 0 for 3 on his takedown attempts. And when you watch him on the regional scene, he's not winning minutes there. 0 for 3, and his opponents are 7 of 22. He's been controlled 64.5% of his UFC cage time of 18 minutes. So that's over 12 minutes of control time on 7 completed takedowns against Bruno Silva. So Bruno Silva has had as much problems dealing with a grappling heavy game plan than Alex Pereira has, really. Bruno Silva will be the better wrestler. He'll be the better Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner, and he'll be a lot more dangerous on the ground. And he's fought the much better brand of competition here. But with all those advantages going to Bruno Silva, the grappling, the strength of schedule, the experience, it's the size and the striking of Alex Pereira that are just absolutely terrifying. And in order for me to bet against somebody like Pereira, I have to have faith in commitment to wrestling, the ability to complete takedowns, the ability to play position over submission and win minutes there, and the ability to finish on the ground. I really think that Bruno Silva only does one of those things well, and that's finish well on the ground. I don't think he's a great wrestler. I don't think he's a great minute winner on the ground, and I don't think he commits to the wrestling. So I'm going to have to go with Alex Pereira. And I'm going to have to pick him by first-round knockout, you guys. Bruno Silva with that 32.5% striking defense is not the kind of guy I can bet on to beat one of the best kickboxers walking the face of the planet Earth that has been training with Glover Teixeira, one of the best guys to learn an MMA ground game from. So he's been training that ground game with a stud in Pereira for in Teixeira for the last couple of years. We can expect some improvements here. and I don't think Bruno Silva's at Pereira's level on the feet. I'm picking Pereira to win this one by knockout, you guys. The next fight is a fantastic fight. Drew Dober against Terrence McKinney. Terrence McKinney, T-Rex, big up yourself. You just stepped in on short notice to take on a UFC veteran with 17 fights in Drew Dober and 9 wins. This is an extremely difficult matchup for T-Rex here, and it is going to be an absolute banger. Maybe I'll do a balls deep breakdown on this one tomorrow night. Maybe I'll do Kamuela Kirk fight. I don't know. Or if you guys have any ideas, let me know what you would like to see. But Terrence McKinney, 6 years younger here. He's 2 inches taller. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage. He fights out of both stances while Drew Dober is a southpaw. Terrence McKinney fighting out of Sikjitsu, and it's Dober out of Elevation Fight Team. Drew Dober has 20 more professional fights and almost 300 more minutes in the pro cage and over 8 more years as a pro. And he's still only 33 years old, so he's not over the hill for this division at all. Dober has 14 more UFC level fights and 140 more minutes in the UFC cage. In terms of finish rates, you guys, Drew Dober has a 69% finish rate and 23 wins, so he's a solid finisher. That would be, I think, 16 out of 23 wins inside the distance for Drew Dober. And he's been finishing 45% of his 11 pro losses. So 5 of the 11 losses have come inside the distance. And Terrence McKinney's got a 100% finish rate. And he's won more fights by submission than he has by knockout, you guys. But he's also been finished in all 3 of his pro losses. So Terrence McKinney in 15 pro fights has never seen the scorecards, you guys. So that's something that just screams fight doesn't go to decision. We look at the striking numbers here. It's going to be Drew Dober who's the better striker. He is a Muay Thai practitioner. He's got crazy power in his hands. He's got a great chin, and he will march forward and eat one to give one, and he's fought that style for his entire career, and it works very well for him. Where Drew Dober really struggles is with the grappling attacks of his opponents. Now, Dober's landing more significant strikes than he absorbs by 0.3. He throws almost 2 more significant strike attempts per minute, and he has landed, it looks like, 5 knockdowns in 17 UFC fights and has never been knocked down once in almost 600 significant strikes absorbed. Drew Dober has one of the best chins in the whole UFC, you guys. Terrence McKinney, we just don't have much here. Only 3 fights, and in those 3 fights, it's like less than 10 minutes of cage time. So 1.65 landed, 0.55 absorbed. He's landed 1 knockdown and only 15 significant strikes landed, 60% accuracy, 1.65 knockdowns per 15 minutes, and he's been knocked down 1.65 times in only, so he's been knocked down once in only 5 significant strikes absorbed, and that was by Sean Woodson. So Dober will be the better minute winner on the feet. He's even more explosive on the feet, and he'll have the better chin as well. Terrence McKinney, though, is a fantastic wrestler. And he's got 2 takedowns in the UFC, and he's never given one up. And he's showing 22.5% control time for, 0.73% control time against. Those numbers, unfortunately, aren't accurate because there were no control time numbers available for the Sean Woodson fight, but he controlled almost 80 to 90% of that fight on the ground. So Terrence McKinney really has a lot of control time. He's been a control time monster. And we see that, Dober has landed 8 takedowns. He's had 20 landed against him. He's got 57% takedown defense, and he's allowing 2 takedowns for 15 minutes. So I do believe that we're going to see Terrence McKinney go for the wrestling early and often here, and he's going to try to finish the fight on the ground. And what I like about Terrence is he really does seem to be very crafty the way he sets up his takedowns. He has some unorthodox entries, and then when you try to defend against those entries, he sets up another attack that kind of plays into the way that you defended the previous attack. And it's just kind of some next level stuff. Terrence's wrestling, I don't think, is getting the respect that it deserves yet, you guys. And we really did see a guy in Terrence go out there and have a fantastic performance against Fares-Ziam. And let's talk about Fares-Ziam for a sec here. Fares is a guy who, in his first 2 fights against Madge and Malarkey, saw something like 20 takedown attempts in those 2 fights, and still really didn't give up a whole ton of control time, really showed a lot of defensive efficiency and the ability to get back to his feet. I mean, Terrence only needed 1 takedown, and he finished that dude almost immediately after getting him down. Terrence, I believe, people see him starching dudes. They see that Frivola knockout, and they think like, oh, this guy just comes out and explodes. He throws everything into his punches, and if he doesn't land a haymaker, he has no chance. He's way more well-rounded than people think he is. And Drew Dober has struggled, you guys. 57.5% takedown defense isn't going to work against Terrence McKinney here. The problem, though, is Terrence is taking this fight on short notice. He just fought a little over a week ago. And in order to push the kind of pace that you need to push for a full 3 rounds to beat Drew Dober and to keep him on the ground for 75, 80% of the fight so that you're not caught up in these striking exchanges where Drew is going to be the much better, much more technical striker, you have to push a pace that you really need an 8-week training camp for, you guys. The bet is fight doesn't go to decision, because either Terrence McKinney gets this done in the first round by a flash knockout or by taking down Drew and submitting him. But if he's not able to do it in the first round, I don't see the wrestling attacks working as well in the second round. And I don't really see them working at all in the third because of the short notice, because of the fact that he's had 2 weight cuts in a very short period of time, and because we've never seen him go to the scorecards before. So if Terrence doesn't get it done early, I think Drew will get it done late. But I think Drew can get it done early here. I think Drew's just got more ways to win. If you're on the Drew Dober side, I think you can bet him to win inside the distance, and you can get plus money on that. That'd probably be the way to go. If you're on the McKinney side, bet him inside the distance, because he probably doesn't have the gas tank to win 2 out of 3 rounds with a wrestling heavy game plan on short notice with 2 weight cuts in a very short period of time. So I think the very safe pick here is Drew Dober, but I think the even safer pick is bet that this fight isn't going to see the scorecards, because somebody's getting finished in this one, you guys. Yeah, and we had the right ticker up there, so we're going to move on to one here that, my God. God, I got to make a confession to you guys. I just don't, I feel like I'm not great at breaking down striker versus striker matchups. And this is another striker versus striker matchup. And what makes it even harder is when there are 2 different versions of one fighter. And we've seen 2 different versions of Khalil Roundtree, We've seen the version of Roundtree that goes out there against Marcin Prachnio and just doesn't show any urgency, gets out volume, gets outworked. And then we've seen the version of Roundtree that's going out there against Eric Anders and has went out there against Modestas Bukauskas and has marched his opponents down and has taken the initiative and has looked like he wanted to win the fight. And then there's Robertson. And Robertson has been in there with some incredible competition. Guys like Teixeira and Vittori, Brendan Allen. I mean, this guy's losses are against some of the top 185ers. But I don't know about what this guy is good at, because when he gets taken down, he gets submitted almost immediately. I mean, the guy I believe, been submitted in all 4 of his pro losses, if I'm not mistaken. And I heard somebody say this on YouTube this week, and you're like, you got this guy, with a 74-inch reach, a southpaw with a great Muay Thai game, and instead of using his length, he's like trying to throw elbows, so he's not even managing distance well and using the reach advantage that he usually has well. So I don't know which Roundtree is showing up, and I don't know whether Robertson is any good. I mean, to be honest with you guys, but let's just break it down here. Robertson 1 year younger. And then there's the talk about Roundtree saying that he might be retiring. I mean, you never like to hear that kind of stuff either. So this fight, it just feels like a big stay away from. But if you guys don't want to stay away, here are the numbers. Same height, almost the same age, 2-inch reach advantage here. Both of these guys are southpaws. That's interesting. Khalil was at Tiger for a while. I don't know where he's at now. Carl Robertson at Killer Bee Combat Sports. Roundtree, 2 more fights, a little more experience in the cage, about 18 more minutes, about a year more as a pro, and 2 more UFC level fights and about 18 more minutes in the UFC cage. So, Roundtree a little more experienced, and he's got a 2-inch reach advantage here. Finish rates almost identical for both of these guys. And in Robertson's 4 losses, he's been subbed in all 4. And in Roundtree's 5 losses, he's been finishing 3 of 5. So 7 of these guys, 9 combined losses have been inside the distance too. That is something that sets up well for a fight doesn't go to decision bet. Plus, when we see how much power these guys have, these guys clearly have the ability to separate their opponents from their consciousness. Roundtree absorbing more than he lands 3.24, absorbs 3.58, 38.7% accuracy. But look at that power number, you guys. He's landing a knockdown on 3.3% of the significant strikes that he lands. So that would mean that he has 8 knockdowns in 11 UFC fights. So that's very impressive. 1.62 knockdowns for 15 minutes. And despite the fact that he's landed 8 knockdowns, he's only been knocked down once. So Khalil has been really good on the feet here, despite the fact that he's absorbing a little more than he lands and that his striking defense is sitting right around at 50%. He's done a pretty good job of not getting knocked down and landing a lot of knockdowns of his own. Now, Robertson is landing more than he absorbs. Lands 2.87, absorbs 2.38, 51% accurate, but 57% striking defense is a lot better than Roundtree. But the power numbers, 2 knockdowns in 9 fights, so he's not as powerful as Roundtree, but he's never been knocked down, but he's only absorbed about half of the amount of strikes that Roundtree has. And I think it's because he's getting taken down a lot. Now, see, here's the thing, you guys, right? You look at 2 guys, like we know Robertson's a kickboxer and we know Roundtree's a kickboxer. But Roundtree's fights are staying in control time positions about 22% of the time. Robertson's about 50% of the time. So that's a process problem because Robertson is attempting less than 1 takedown per fight. So, he shouldn't be spending 50% of his time on the ground and on the fence, but he is. So I get the feeling here that Roundtree might be the better minute winner because we don't see Robertson, getting more than 1 takedown per 15 minutes. He is getting his takedowns at over a 57% clip, but that's only on 7 takedown attempts. But he has gotten 21% control time for. So, he probably, if one of these 2 guys wrestles, it's probably going to be Robertson. But if one of these 2 guys has a better process that allows them to be able to spend more minutes where they're comfortable, I would say it's Roundtree. Roundtree's faced only 28 takedown attempts in 11 fights, and he's only showing 50% takedown defense. But he still has only been controlled for 17 minutes of the 83 minutes that he's been on the ground. So 17 minutes on 14 takedown attempts. When he does get taken down, it looks like he's getting back up. So Roundtree's more powerful. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here. He's got a little bit of an experience advantage. Strength of schedule, though, definitely goes to Robertson. He's lost to the much better competition, and because of that, his ratio is 1.71, while for Roundtree, it's only 1. And Robertson's facing the more experienced competition as well. But when we go down here and we see the kind of fighters that they're beating, right, that's almost identical. Roundtree, the guy that he beats, has a record of 3 and 2.4. The guy that Robertson beats has a record of 3.4 and 3. So they're both beating similar level competition. It's just that Roundtree hasn't lost to as good a guys. But the fact that, guys like Vittori and Teixeira and Brendan Allen are shaving Robertson's ass isn't necessarily, any kind of an indication that Roundtree is going to be able to, because Roundtree isn't on those guys' level, period, plain and simple. So how do we handicap this fight? I like the fact that Khalil Roundtree, that his wins are as good as Robertson. I like Khalil Roundtree's power numbers. I like Roundtree's volume numbers. And Roundtree's takedown defense isn't great, but his get-up game is good. So I think that Carl Robertson probably won't be winning a lot of minutes on the ground here. And one thing that I did notice, the terrible performance against Marcin Prachnio. I might be able to forgive Khalil Roundtree for that performance because it was on Fight Island. And we've seen a lot of guys go to Abu Dhabi. They don't see the light of day while they're there. And it's just a really difficult place to fight. It's a super long flight. You're fighting in the middle of the night. You're in a strange place. It's hot. It's fucking dry. Maybe Roundtree is a little bit better than we think. And maybe Robertson just isn't as good as we think. I was on Robertson earlier in the week, but after I looked into this fight today, I'm changing my pick. I'm going with Khalil Roundtree here. And I think that since Robertson has lost all of his fights inside the distance, I'll say I like him to knock him out here. But, I'm not putting any money on this fight. I really do believe that this is a stay-away fight. And I mentioned that I'm not great at handicapping the striker versus striker fights, but I'm going to pick Khalil Roundtree here, you guys. We've got 3 more fights to go. We're an hour and 41 minutes in. Sadiq Youssef against Alex Caceres. And uncertainly saying which version of Roundtree is going to show up this Saturday. This is why, it's hard to bet on his fights. You don't know which one's going to show up. And Bon Kui saying Roundtree is going through a mental breakdown run or some shit. Yeah, he's been talking right now or some shit. Yeah, I know. There's some weird things going on there. So next fight, though, we've got Sadiq Youssef minus 220 going up against the veteran and Alex Caceres, who's on the comeback at plus 185. Fight doesn't go to decision here at plus 115. Yep, that looks correct. So Youssef 5 years younger. It's going to be Caceres, who's 1 inch taller and having a 2-inch reach advantage, and he's a southpaw. Youssef out of Team Lloyd Irvin. Alex Caceres out of the MMA lab. Caceres with a huge experience advantage. 32 fights to 13. 3 times as much in the pro cage and over twice as many years as a pro. And 19 more fights at the UFC level and about 230 more minutes in the UFC cage. Sadiq Youssef, a 55% finish rate, all by knockout. Alex Caceres, a 53% finish rate, 37% by sub, 16% by knockout. So neither one of these guys is spectacular at finishing. And Caceres has been finished in 66% of his 12 pro losses. So that is 8 out of his 12 losses have been inside the distance. And for Sadiq Youssef, it's been 1 out of his 2 losses that have been inside the distance. Sadiq is a fantastic striker here. Lands 5.43, absorbs 3.46, throws with a ton of power, and throws a lot of volume. He's throwing 11.31 attempts per minute, and his opponents are only attempting 8.43. So 48% accuracy. He's landing 3 knockdowns in 6 UFC fights, so there's a good amount of power there, and 0.68 knockdowns per 15 minutes. And we got 0.43% knockdowns for total significant strikes absorbed, so he's been knocked down once in 6 UFC fights. 59% striking defense is solid. But then we go across to Caceres, and keeping in mind that this isn't a 25-fight UFC sample size, this guy's out landing his opponents at distance quite well here. 51% striking accuracy. He's got 4 knockdowns in 25 fights, and he's only absorbing 2.85 significant strikes a minute and showing 65% striking defense over a 25-fight sample size. So Alex is going to probably be really good here at moving his feet, staying a moving target, and managing distance here with that little 2-inch reach advantage he has, the 1-inch height advantage he has. He's a southpaw. So Caceres can absolutely hold his own on the feet. In the grappling, this is going to be interesting. Sadiq has never completed a takedown in the UFC, but despite the fact that he's never completed a takedown, he's actually out-controlling his opponents 15.75% to 13.72%. He's showing 68.75% takedown defense. He's never had a submission attempted against him. Caceres has gotten 11 takedowns out of 14 attempts, but he's only attempted 14 takedowns in 25 fights. So this guy does not commit to wrestling at all. He got Sung Woo Choi's back in the second round of that fight after Sung Woo just overextended on a strike. And Caceres just stepped off to the side, got on his back, got the hooks in, backpacked him, and wound up taking that fight to the ground and getting the choke there. So Alex Caceres doesn't necessarily need to get a takedown in order to get the fight into the grappling exchanges. But the fact that he doesn't commit to wrestling here is a little bit concerning. And, he's attempted 14 takedowns. His opponents have attempted 117. So I find that interesting. I think that this might be a little bit closer on the feet than people think, because you don't get 117 takedowns attempted against you in 25 fights if people, think your striking sucks. This is a guy who his opponents are attempting like 7 or 8 takedown attempts for every one that Caceres tries. So people don't like standing with this guy. He doesn't have a ton of power, but he does have the ability to win minutes there. And that is plain as day in the striking ratio. And if Sadiq doesn't like how it's going on the feet, Caceres might be able to give him a veteran lesson here. That being said, though, if you watch Sadiq Yusuf's UFC debut against Mike Davis, who's a really good boxer, boy, oh boy, does he handle Mike Davis on the feet. He's landing big shots, and he's also got a chin on him too. So I think Yusuf will be fine here on the feet, and I don't really think Caceres is going to be able to get the fight to the grappling exchanges if he doesn't like how it's going on the feet. For those reasons, I'm going to go with Yusuf to win this fight here. I think he'll win a striking-based battle here, win a ton of points, and even potentially get a finish. But Alex Caceres does have a fantastic chin here, you guys. He's been knocked out once in 32 professional fights, and he's had 12 career losses. Only one of them is by knockout. So very difficult to knock this dude out. Sung Woo Choi came damn close, and if he hadn't have landed that illegal knee, he might have finished Caceres there, because he had him in serious trouble. So I do think Sadiq Yusuf might have a chance to finish this inside the distance, but I do think that Sadiq can win this fight on the feet. I think he can avoid the grappling exchanges, as he's done a very good job of that thus far, only allowing 13.72% control time, despite the fact that he's had 16 takedown attempts against him in only 6 fights. So I'm going to pick Sadiq Yusuf to win this one, and I'm going to say by decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to finish this one inside the distance. And here's another one that should absolutely finish inside the distance. We've got Marlon Moraes, who's got about 1 round of gas, coming in against Song Yadong. Song, 24 years old still only. He's got more professional fights than he does have years on this earth. So he's 9 years younger than Marlon Moraes here. He's going to be 2 inches taller. The reach is the same. They're both orthodox fighters. We got Marlon Moraes fighting out of American Top Team, and we've got Song Yadong out of Team Alpha Male. It's Marlon Moraes who's got the experience advantage here. 8 more fights in about 60 more minutes in the cage, and 6 more years as a pro. 1 more UFC level fight. So Song Yadong has had about as much experience in the UFC as Moraes, but outside of the UFC, it's Moraes who's had a lot more fights. The finish rates for these guys: Marlon Moraes finishing 69% of his fights inside the distance, and for Yadong, it's 56%. And Marlon has been finished in 8 of his 9 career losses, and in 4 of his 5 UFC losses. And Song Yadong has only been finished once by knockout in 5 losses. When we look at the striking numbers here, Moraes absorbs a lot more than he lands, but he's got fantastic power for a bantamweight, you guys. He has landed 5 knockdowns in 10 fights, and he's averaging 1.78% knockdowns per total significant strikes landing, and he's just under 1 knockdown per 15 minutes. But he has been knocked down 3 times in 10 fights, and he's showing only a 54% striking defense. So that's a little bit concerning. Yadong's numbers on the aggregate are a lot better, you guys. He lands 4.88, absorbs only 3.77, a little more accurate than Marlon, and about half as powerful. But he's landing 0.61 knockdowns per 15 minutes, and he's landed 4 knockdowns in 9 UFC fights. So Song has quite a bit of power in his own right, and he's a lot more defensively responsible as he absorbs over 1 significant strike less than he lands, which is great. And he's almost at 60% striking defense. So Song's done really well there. In terms of the grappling, you guys, neither one of these guys is showing a lot of commitment to the wrestling. And Song Yadong only has 12.73% control time, and Moraes only has 7.22% control time. And both of these guys are averaging 19 combined takedown attempts for these guys in 19 fights. So, we really do expect that whoever the better striker is probably who's winning this fight, because neither one of these guys is really committing to wrestling heavy game plans at any point here in the UFC. And neither one of these guys has been great at stopping takedowns. 60% takedown defense for Song, 46% takedown defense for Marlon Moraes. But still, even though Marlon Moraes has been taken down 7 times, he's really only been controlled about 9 minutes on those 7 takedowns. So he's got a good get-up game. He doesn't stay there, and he can attack with submissions, as he's a very good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player himself. In terms of the strength of schedule for these guys, it's Marlon Moraes who has fought, beaten, and lost to the better brand of competition here. The average Marlon Moraes opponent is 9.2 wins and 3.8 losses. The average Yadong opponent, 5.33 wins, 2.89 losses. And the wins for Marlon Moraes, the average beating a guy with 10.6 wins and 4.2 losses, 2.52 ratio, while Song Yadong also beating winning competition, 5.57 wins, 3 losses, 1.86 ratio. You look at the last 5, Cejudo, Aldo, Sandhagen, Font, Tvalishvili, a who's who of the bantamweight division. While for Yadong, it's a step down from those guys with Arce, Kenny, Phillips, Vera, and Stamen. So Marlon Moraes has got the power advantage. He's got the experience advantage. But really, Yadong's much younger. He's very powerful in his own right. He's got a much better gas tank here. This should be Song Yadong all day. But if you're on that Song Yadong side, I believe you can get like plus 850 for Marlon Moraes round 1. And that's really his only win condition, you guys. So you can always hedge that. And if you want to just stay away and just sprinkle a prop that's really got a good chance of finishing, Marlon Moraes is very dangerous in the first round. And I don't hate that first round knockout prop or just a first round finish prop for Marlon Moraes at better than plus 800. I had that last time out against Tvalishvili. This close to cashing. Excuse me, guys, just for a sec. All right, back. So yeah, that's a good option there. That's a good fat prop to look at here. But I'm going to be picking Song Yadong to win this by second round knockout, you guys. And that brings us to the main event of the evening. Got 58 of you guys hanging out live here with your Uncle Weezy late on a Tuesday night. There were more than 60 of you guys earlier. I appreciate each and every one of you guys hanging out. Thank you for pressing the like button, for hitting the subscribe, for subscribing to the MMA Engine YouTube channel, for downloading the stats. Check out everything in the description. A lot more content that I've already done this week that you can check out. But let's finish it up, you guys, with the main event of the evening and what promises to be an ass shaving of just a great magnitude here is we have Thiago Santos squaring off against Magomed Ankalaev. In Magomed Ankalaev's 8 UFC fights, he's lost about 3 seconds of those fights, and it actually cost him a loss against Paul Craig. But look, you guys, Magomed is 9 years younger than Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos is a 38-year-old light heavyweight on 2 reconstructed knees. Magomed 1 inch taller. Santos will have a 1 inch reach advantage. Both of these guys are orthodox fighters. Thiago Santos, 14 more professional fights than Ankalaev and about 100 more minutes in the pro cage and 3 more years as a pro. And Santos has 14 more UFC level fights and about 100 more minutes in the UFC cage as well. In terms of finish rates, Ankalaev finishing 56% of his 16 wins by knockout, and Thiago Santos a 73% finish rate, 68% by knockout, 5% by sub. And in these guys, 10 combined losses, 7 of them have been inside the distance. But Magomed Ankalaev, if you don't know how he lost, he fought Paul Craig. He won all 3 rounds of that fight. Paul Craig locked up a triangle with 5 seconds left, and Magomed Ankalaev tapped with 1 second left. Unbelievable. But that was Magomed Ankalaev's only loss as a pro. This guy has been the definition of dominant. And we look at the striking numbers here. Santos' numbers are great. Lands 4.16, absorbs only 2.4. Fantastic power at 1.68%, 48% accuracy, 56% defense, and he's been knocked down 3 times only in 22 fights. But somehow, Ankalaev manages to outdo it in almost every category with a better striking ratio of 3.6 landed, 2.05 absorbed, 55.5% striking accuracy, 7% better than Santos, 2.12% knockdowns for total significant strikes landed, about a half percentage point better than Santos, and about 0.1 more knockdowns for 15 minutes. Plus, he's never been knocked down in 8 UFC fights, and he's shown a sparkling 62.5% striking defense. Thiago Santos does not commit to the wrestling, you guys. Only 1 takedown attempt per fight and only 8 takedowns in 22 UFC fights. Less than 2/3 of a takedown per 15 minutes. His fights are in control time positions about 32% of the time. So about 68% of his time is spent striking. And yeah, he's getting out-controlled by about 5% on the feet, but his defensive efficiency is pretty good considering the amount of takedowns he's attempted, how many he's faced, and the control percentages that lie within. So Santos has been pretty efficient there. Magomed has been incredibly efficient. He's controlling his opponents 33% of the time, only giving up 5.5% control time. So that would be, a 6-to-1 ratio that he's out controlling his opponents. But his opponents have actually attempted more takedowns than Magomed has. So very efficient. He's attempting he's getting 1.15 takedowns per 15 minutes, showing 85% takedown defense, and only allowing 5% control time against. When we look at the strength of schedule numbers here, it's Thiago who's faced a much better strength of schedule here. 11.55 total fights to 7.38 for Ankalaev, and a much better ratio of 1.85 to Ankalaev's 1.36. But when you look at the wins, they're better for Santos, but not that much better. Magomed's beating guys with winning records with a 1.33 ratio. It's just that Thiago is fighting the more experienced competition and beating the more experienced competition and better win-loss ratio guys. And, like I say, Ankalaev does have a loss on his record to Paul Craig, but really this guy could easily be undefeated. And he's kind of like one of these guys that reminds me of Machida when he came into the UFC, where there was a stretch when he became champion where he hadn't even lost a round. He was just dominating people. And that's what Ankalaev's doing. He's got great power on the feet, really slick striking, fast hands, moves very well. His grappling is fantastic, and his ground and pound is fucking terrifying. And Thiago Santos is a 38-year-old man with 2 reconstructed knees who has not looked even close to the same as he has since before those knee surgeries. There's a reason Magomed Ankalaev is sitting at minus 550 right now. I think that number really only goes up from here. I do have a bet on this fight. I have the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 145. Did I get that at plus money? I think it's minus 145. I bet 1.45 units on it. This is a 5-round fight. Magomed Ankalaev has finished most of his UFC opponents. He's finished 4 of his 7 UFC opponents, you guys, thus far. But Thiago, I don't think that Magomed is going to show Thiago the respect that Johnny Walker did. And I think that Magomed's going to go through this guy, get a finish. He's on his way to challenging for the title. And I think that he knows in order to make that happen faster, that he needs to finish Thiago Santos. And I think that he absolutely will. He's 9 years younger. He's the better striker. He's the better grappler. He's more efficient in the grappling exchanges. He's got a better gas tank, and he's faster. He's just better all around. So I'm picking Ankalaev. I'm predicting an ass shaving. I think he probably gets him out of there in the first 3 rounds via ground and pound. That does it, you guys. That leaves us. We have just broken down 14 fights, and it took us 2 hours to do it. We work hard here, but the harder we work, the better reads we get, the more bets we cash, the more flapjacks that we have with syrup and butter every Saturday night, you guys, counting our winnings. So, with only one order of business left to take care of tonight, it's time, you guys. It's time for Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. So who's it going to be? I want to see what you guys are saying here in the comments. What are you guys thinking? Justin is saying Santos, you can put another loss on his record. Yes, you can. We got the general in here taking notes. We got Robert saying thanks. We got Nandolao saying, even if Santos walks out to Peter Gabriel, that dog won't hunt. Peter Gabriel. Oh, my God. Papa Chuck saying thank you. Sung Woo basically won the fight, then threw it away with the illegal knee. Yes, he did. Most likely finishes Caceres if he uses his hands in that moment. You're absolutely right about that, Tatooine Dream. Yeah, you guys probably think I'm going to give you Magomed Ankalaev as the ass shaving of the week, and I think he's going to shave ass, but I got to do better than that for you guys. You don't need me to tell you that a minus 550 favorite is going to win. So, I do like Song Yadong to win. I do like Sadiq Youssef to win. I like Khalil Roundtree to win. Oh, God, Dober McKinney's going to be so close. Such a great fight. I think Dober wins because he's got more ways to win it. Pereira Silva. I think Pereira is so scary. And Bruno Silva's got that nasty 32.5% striking defense. Semelsberger against Fletcher is somebody's getting their ass shaved in that one. Aldrich Robertson, going to be a great fight. I'm on Robertson. I'm on Javid Basharat here. I'm on Damon Jackson here. I'm on Miranda Maverick here, but Miranda Maverick's a minus 300 favorite. She's taking the fight on short notice. I'm not going to disrespect Sabina Mazo and say that Maverick shaves her ass. Lungiambula Brundage is going to be close. Moutinho Cannetti, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. The ass shaving is the eyes of the people that have to watch that low-level bantamweight fight. But you know what? Let me say this. I do think that Moutinho Cannetti is going to be a really fun, action-packed fight. If you don't have money on it, you should be able to enjoy just watching it because these guys walk forward. They both throw haymakers. Should be a really fun fight. And then we got Nchukwi, the kickboxer, against Azamat Murzakanov. I like Murzakanov quite a bit here, but who do you guys think it's going to be? Well, let me put it. And we got DFS by the numbers saying Dober shaves McKinney's ass. And oh, boy, I like that call. And we got Victor De Jesus saying Yadong going to shave that ass. My God. And Matthew Chalk saying Sadiq. We got my guy Liam Picks Fights in the room saying Weezy the GOAT. I like that logo, Liam. That's so badass. I got to get off my ass and get myself a logo, man. One is cool as that. It's a cool logo. But you know what? It's not any of those guys, you guys. I am going with somebody that I found that really impressed me. I'm going on a little bit of a limb here because he's given up a little bit of an experience advantage at the UFC level. But you guys, I'm going with the Sambo champion in Azamat Murzakanov. He's got more experience than Tafon. He's way more well-rounded than Tafon. And we're talking about a guy with 12 years in mixed martial arts and a Sambo career before that, beating the shit out of Ayan Kutalaba in Sambo competitions some year back. This guy's got power, but he's got the grappling to mix in that I think is going to be way too much for Tafon. Tafon's big, and he's tough to take down, but he's not as big as Guto in a sense. He's not as big as Mohammed Fakhreddin. And I think that Azamat's going to get the job done. I think he can land a big shot on the feet, but I think that once Tafon starts worrying about that wrestling, Azamat's going to be able to take this any way that he wants it. I think that Azamat's going to get this on the ground. I think he's going to drown Tafon and Nchukwi there. I'm picking a first-round ground and pound finish for Azamat Murzakanov, which completes this week's Just the Tip, Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Azamat Murzakanov shaving the ass of Tafon and Nchukwi, the far less experienced, far less well-rounded mixed martial artist. You guys, we did it. 2 hours and 5 minutes you spent with your Uncle Weezy. Over 60 of you in here doing Just the Tip on Tuesday night. I love each and every one of you guys for spending time on my channel, watching my programs. Thank you so much to everybody that donated to the show. You can't imagine how much that means to me. Thank you to everybody that subscribed to the channel, that subscribed to the MMA Engine YouTube channel, that big up the video. You guys are the best. And you know what? God bless each and every one of you. And let's stack cashed tickets like flapjacks on UFC Vegas 50. Let's get it, you guys. And I will see you tomorrow on Pub Sports Radio, 6 o'clock Central Time for the DFS show. And right back here on my channel, 10 o'clock Central Time for one more Balls Deep breakdown. I love each and every one of you guys. Be well, and I'll see you tomorrow.